Hey, what's happening? I'm back. And you know what that means. Those of you that are following my book reading journey, that's what the book looks like. It's called The Game. You can find it on my website, consciouspress.net. And as Denzel would say often in the movie Training Day, we're in the office. Okay, so we're going to get started. I'm not going to tie you guys up. We read up to chapter 3. We're going to start chapter 4 today, okay? So let's get started. Carla moved out from in between satin sheets and her panties and bra onto the side of the large bed as the telephone continued to ring. She reached over and retrieved the phone off of the nightstand and just held the receiver up alongside of her face. She was still half asleep. The woman on the other end asked, "Carla, are you awake?" She replied, "I am now." "And Jill, just what the hell do you want this time of the morning?" Jill smiled. "Well, first off, what's he like? And how is he? You know, like in bed. I got the message that you left on my answer machine." Carla smiled as memories and future visions of her and Goldie began to invade her mind. She replied, "He's the bomb. He's intelligent, charming, witty, and strong. I have never met anyone like him before in my life. He's very passionate about what he does. He's disciplined and exciting. Need I go on?" Jill rolled over on the bed and reached over onto the nightstand and retrieved a package of cigarettes and said, "You're my partner and my girl, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't have any reservations about this guy." She asked, "Carla, is this going to be difficult for you?" "Well, what do you want me to say? That he's not the bomb? That he's not every woman's man?" "I can't say that. However, I have made contact. My objective is in perspective, and I haven't forgotten." At that point, Jill lit her cigarette and said, "Just take your time, girl. Be careful, and don't rush into anything with this guy." Carla didn't bother to respond. She just placed the receiver back down onto the nightstand. The line went dead. Meanwhile, after leaving Kathy's place, Goldie rode through town with hopes of seeing Smooth out along the avenue. He wanted to fill him in on his role and function with the new plan. But after not coming into contact with him, Goldie decided that he would check in on Teresa and give Smooth a call a little later on. He reached over and snatched his car telephone and dialed Teresa's number. Now, on the outskirts of town, the ringing of the telephone startled Teresa. She was sitting there on the living room sofa after a nice hot bubble bath in her bathrobe, painting her toenails. She reached over onto the end table and retrieved the telephone receiver. She said, "Goldie?" He replied, "Yeah, how'd you know?" She smiled. "Well, you have to think. Who else calls here?" Goldie smiled as he turned the car onto Sanford Street off Remsen. He replied, "Go ahead, baby. I love it when you pimp at me. So how did the gardener take the news?" "With pride, Goldie, with pride." "Okay, baby, I'm on my way." The line went dead. After Goldie hung up the telephone, he rode in silence, thinking for every war that was fought and won, it was won long before it had begun. And as with war, he had a planned outcome. Now all he had to do was work his plan. When Goldie arrived at Teresa's place, which was located in the village of North, he jumped out of his car, and no sooner than he had placed his feet down onto her doorstep, the door opened for him. Teresa stood there on the opposite side of the door, on the heels of her feet. She had been waiting on her toenails to dry when he arrived. He stepped inside of her place, and she threw her arms around him and said, "I've missed you so much." He returned her embrace. "It's only been a week." She kissed him on the mouth. Baby, it felt like a year. Where have you been? I've been worried about you. Now, Goldie didn't like to be questioned, but he knew to come from her that the concern was genuine. He just overlooked the questions asked. Baby, let me see that thing. Teresa stepped back and opened the bathrobe, revealing her birthday suit to him. He smiled as he quickly surveyed her body while closing the door behind himself. He said, not that thing, chump. However, there may be time for that a little later on. But right now, we have a cause that needs our attention. Teresa returned his smile seductively, and as she closed her robe, she looked down at her feet, which she thought to be dry at that point, and left the living room to retrieve that thing, the cake. Goldie walked over and made himself comfortable in his easy chair, and while waiting, he thought about how beautiful she was and all that he had in her. When Teresa returned to the living room, she walked over and set a leather carry bag down in between his legs. And then she walked over and closed the blinds. He looked down into the bag and immediately noticed that there was more cake in the bag than he had instructed her to go pick up. He looked over at her and asked, Teresa, what the hell is this? She walked over and sat down directly across from him on the sofa and replied, it's 2.5 cakes, and if you didn't notice, I already put half of the package together. Goldie looked back down into the bag as if what she had said made a difference, and then he looked back over at her and asked, what the hell did I tell you to get? Wait a minute, Goldie, before you get upset. I wanted to spring this on you as a surprise. The half was a gift from Joe. And he also told me to tell you, whatever the two of you had discussed, it worked out, and that this Saturday, he wants you to meet him in Belmont at the Boat Basin, Pier 87, at 11 o'clock in the morning. He wants you to go out on his new boat with him for lunch and a rap session. By the way, he's bringing a friend. Goldie replied, and I just thought maybe Goldie eased back into his easy chair and crossed his legs. Look, don't you think a damn thing. You should have told me this shit. How do you know that he ain't trying to put shit on me? How many times have I told you in this game it's all chess? Nothing is done for nothing. And the move that Jose just made was check. I think he forgot that I get the opportunity to move before he can holler checkmate. Then again, in his eyes, I'm already checkmated. Now, I'm going to stop there and turn a couple of pages. There's quite a bit of information that it may not be appropriate for this particular site. Meaning, you know, how he plans or his intentions and, you know, the outcome itself. How he goes about it. But long story short, you won't miss any of it. You'll be able to put that together mentally, I'm sure. And we'll continue on with completing chapter 4. If you really got to have the information, which is just, like I said, a brief page or so, I'll be more than glad to run through it once I come to terms with it being, you know, okay. But I just know that you'll understand what I'm talking about. Teresa broke the silence. She asked, are we going Saturday? Goldie replied, I am, but you're not. She asked, why, Goldie? He looked intensely into her eyes and replied, Saturday, you'll be working. And from this point on, nobody sleeps around here. I want productivity to double. Now, Goldie hated to bust her bubble, hurt her, or upset her in parentheses. But he knew that she had to pay to get something out of this experience. She had to pay to begin to take this game more seriously. Goldie stood up out of his easy chair. Listen, baby, I have a few runs to make. I want you to put the rest of that thing together. I'll call you when it's time for you to make your drops. And from that point, I want you to wait on Kathy's call. Teresa rose off the sofa and asked, Goldie, why does he interrupted her immediately? Because that's how it is. She is to call you whenever she receives a call from a worker and picks up the money, so you will know who to drop to. I mean, hey, it's not like she's any bigger than you in this thing. What is your problem? She looked up directly into his eyes and replied, there is no problem, Goldie. There is none. He smiled. Now that's what I like to hear. Give me a kiss so I can get out of here. Oh, and baby, I'll see you tonight. She walked around the coffee table and kissed him on the mouth and replied, I love you, Goldie. Meanwhile, Jose sat there in his easy chair in his beautifully furnished brownstone in New York City. He was contemplating the move that he and Goldie had intended to make concerning the South. He was also trying to come up with a way to take the lead on this mass money deal. It all boiled down to Joe not wanting to put himself back on Front Street. He figured that Goldie would oversee their mission and take all the risks, while he would have reaped a portion of the benefits. And he knew that that would take some smoothing over. So that was what the gift was basically about. And like I said, I'm sure you guys can make sense of it. Just put in the comments you'd like to gather that information, and I'll be more than glad. Like I said, when I come to terms with, like it being okay to put out there, I definitely will. Please, don't forget to like and share. Hey, enjoy your day. I love you guys. It's been great. And maybe later on today, we'll do chapter 5. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace. Love you guys.